Hey guys, if you're new to this channel, welcome. If you are back here again, then thank you for coming back. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. I have been getting a lot of messages on my Instagram account. My Instagram account is getting crazy attention at the minute. We hit 3,000 the other day and I've been getting loads of lovely messages from you all asking for tips, asking for whether I do private lessons. And since I've been starting to do these tutorial videos, I thought let's share some tips that I find really useful. So over the years of playing, I've learned loads of little techniques which have really helped with the performance side of my playing. A lot of little things that actually become big things, and they separate you from playing piano at home as like a hobby and then being a professional. The actual differences are really small, and I want to share some of those techniques with you today. So I've got 5 little techniques, hacks, tricks, whatever you want to call them, on how to sound more professional with your playing. So let's crack on with the first little tutorial tip. So, bending fingers. Super important when you're playing. The reason why is it gives you loads of control, and particularly control of things like dynamics. So when you're playing really quietly, if you try and play really quietly with a flat finger, it's so much harder to judge where the key is going to be down. So if you do them with bent fingers, you just have so much more control. It's just the way that human fingers work. Approaching it from the top rather than the side. Next time you see a piano player, see if they've got bent fingers. My second tutorial tip is all about dynamics. Dynamics are probably the most important thing that any musician can do, like ever. This doesn't just stick to piano. This is any instrument, any vocals, anything in production on making songs. Dynamics are hugely important, and this is how I do them. I remember for years when I was younger going out with bands, promoters, when they were giving feedback, competitions, the feedback was always about dynamics, and dynamics being so important. It makes such a difference so that everything doesn't just become sort of monochrome, it doesn't just become sort of one lump of sound. If I was to just play everything loud, so now if I play exactly the same thing but with dynamics, it speaks for itself. So much more emotion, so much more of storytelling, which is what music's about. So dynamics, a big one. Number 3, I'd say this is the second most important thing that, again, any musician needs to do, but it's great practice to do this with piano. I remember my teacher when I was younger, like, hammered at me whenever I do any exercises, no matter what they were, do them to a metronome. I actually found it really fun. I treated the metronome like a drummer, and it was really fun, like, when I got it and I could lock in with the metronome, it was really fun to, like, get grooves. So when I was younger, we used to use this little wooden metronome thing. It looked like this. And at the time, I used to treat it like a drummer. I used to sit there and jam along to this little thing, because when I was like 10 and I was learning piano, I wasn't part of a band or anything like that. And I'm so glad he made me do that, because now whenever I'm playing, 80% of my playing, I would say, is with other people, with bands, or if I'm recording, it's really crucial to be able to stick to that metronome beat. It becomes second nature. I don't even think about sticking in time with things when I hear a beat. 1, 2, 3. A little side note, if you are practicing a certain technique, say you are doing scales, if you have a metronome there, you then have the ability to slow that metronome down. Say you're learning a new scale and you want to play at this speed, nail it at that speed and gradually speed up your metronome. So using a metronome is a great way to sort of force yourself to play slowly, get that discipline and speed it up later. Number 4 is a really small technique. It's like something that nobody will ever notice if you do it properly, and I'm always surprised how many people get this wrong. People that are actually really good players, but for some reason they've just not quite mastered this technique. It's pedal technique. I don't really know how to show you. So what a lot of players do is as they're pressing a note or a chord, they press the pedal down at exactly the same time. What happens is you end up catching some of the notes from the previous chord, because when you let go of a piano note, the note still rings on for that, I don't know, like a split second afterwards. And if you do it on the beat, sometimes you catch that. See if I can do it. You can kind of hear it catches some unwanted notes on the way down. So what I was always taught was to put the pedal down a split second after you've played the note. So that's my tip number 4. It really cleans up your playing. You end up with no like unwanted notes carried over from the chords before. Really, really useful tip. So my 5th and final piece of advice just for today is raising fingers when playing really short staccato notes. This came to me when I was doing my One Piano 15 Netflix shows. If you haven't seen that video, it's good fun, it's just up here. In that video, I was doing really short staccato notes. Now staccato notes it's just like a technical term for super short notes. That's effectively it. And to achieve those really short notes with precision, but good force as well at the same time, you want to get your wrist, you want to get this kind of floppy motion in your wrist. I remember when I was practicing when I was little, I used to sit above the piano and just do this, just to get used to my wrist moving like that. You want to aim for your wrist to be as still as possible and it to be all in your hand, so it looks a bit silly, but you get really nice short notes. It's the smallest of differences, but it's one of those differences that overall just give you that professional sound. All in the wrist. So little technique, feels silly to do, but it really is good. So there we go. I hope some of those techniques have been really useful, even if just 1 or 2 of them apply to you and ones that maybe you haven't thought about before. I really hope they help you, I hope they advance you, and if you're looking at being a professional player, these are certainly things that people look out for. They're certainly things that, like I say, bridge that difference of you being a player as a hobby and playing at home and just practicing all the time, and being out there in the professional world of playing. It's a scary place. It's really, really competitive out there. So these little differences will definitely make you stand out from the crowd, and people do notice these things. Take your time when practicing these things. Keep it steady. Make sure it's something that just becomes part of your everyday playing and you don't even think about them in the end. Don't all do them at once though, it will stress you out if you try and do all 5 of these at the same time, but eventually you'll get it. Do them one by one, tick them off your little list. So yeah, leave a comment if you have any more techniques you'd like me to cover or any ideas that you might have for another video on this channel. Remember to subscribe and hit that little bell notification so you don't miss another video. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. And until next time, look after each other, stay safe, and remember, never stop creating. Cheers, guys!
Stay